What is up, guys? So, coming back to you tonight, I'm going to be posting the top 10 heavyweights, going live with them. I love the heavyweight division. I think back to what got me into boxing when I was a kid, because this isn't anything. My dad liked boxing, but he wasn't hardcore. But I pretty much went wherever my dad was passionate about. And he wasn't really passionate about boxing. He liked boxing. He has a favorite boxer and stuff, but he was just kind of a casual fan. And I wonder how I became a hardcore fan. And I think it's because of the heavyweight division. I really love the heavyweights. I think everybody does, but the heavyweights. I grew up in the Tyson era, Lennox Lewis, Evander Holyfield era, and it's always been huge for me. Even when Klitschko took over the division and was the best for a long time, and the division was boring, but Klitschko was dominant, and he is a Hall of Famer because of it. And on that note, Klitschko is also talking that there has been some rumors that Klitschko has mentioned possibly coming back, which would only make this division even better. And guys, the heavyweight division is back with an impact and a passion. Um, Last year Anthony Joshua and Vladimir Klitschko burned the house down. That was fucking great fight. One of the best fights in the past, of the new millennium. To be honest, maybe the best heavyweight fight of the new millennium. And this year we had a couple more and a couple big matchups. Pretty much the top five is fucking legit, guys. There's the top five heavyweights are studs, and even the second tier heavyweights are good. And we got guys right at the tail end of this top 10 that are on the rise, new heavyweights that can make a splash. Again, this division is hot. It really is right now. And right now, for me, it's the third best division in boxing and threatening at number two, to be honest. So let's discuss the outs, the guys that are out from last year. We start with former cruiserweight champion Tony Bellew. Bellew, after 2017, and he got an upset 11th round TKO of David Haye in their first fight. He came back and scheduled a rematch with Haye in May, and he dominated David Haye in a rematch, stopping him on only 5 rounds. He was up. He was actually number 6 coming into the year, so Bellew was really highly rated. He wanted to finish his career off and move back down to cruiserweight and challenge for the undisputed title against Alexander Usyk. He was, and he got that fight in November. He was pot shotting Usyk and sharpshooting him, and was landing some good shots. But Usyk, once he figured out what Bellew was doing, started to wear him down towards those middle rounds, and then in the 8th round landed a wicked left hand that put Bellew down for the final time of his career. And that was it for him. Great career for Bellew. He retired right after that. And at 36, he picked the right time. He's made a lot of money. And I was just glad to see him go out on his shield going after the best. That was pretty impressive. Now, the next guy out of it is former world title challenger Carlos Takam. He came in the year number 8 and actually had performed well in 2017 when he took on Anthony Joshua on short notice. And I think it was less than 2-week notice he took that fight. And he fought actually pretty well. He got stopped in the 10th round, kind of an early stoppage, a lot of people thought. But he had started coming on in the second half of the fight, and he didn't fight bad. So he really proved that he was a legit contender. Well, he took most of the year off until the end of July when he fought Derek Chisora. And he was actually winning that fight when Chisora caught him with a wicked punch in the 8th round and knocked him out. It was a good candidate for knockout of the year. It was a pretty good knockout. This one, after that, I think he had won a fight earlier than that. And now Takam, at 38 years old, he already wasn't a big name. I don't know if he's going to be able to climb back up, to get in position, but you never know. But I doubt it. But he's a tough guy still. We'll see what he can do, but I doubt he can climb back, to a title shot position because he's not a big name and he's an older fighter now and he's been knocked out. But we'll see. He might be able to get a mandatory and get into some kind of eliminator this year and do it. So we'll see what happens. Next guy out of the top 10 is former world title challenger Hughie Fury. He was actually coming into the year at number 10, and he had fought for the title in 2017 against Joseph Parker and lost an ugly majority decision in a fight where a lot of people felt like he just wasn't aggressive. and didn't try to really win too much. He came into the year, he got a win, bouncing back, and then he got himself into a final eliminator against Kubrat Pulev in, I believe it was October when he fought him. And going into the fight, I thought it could go either way. Pulev hadn't fought in like a year and a half when he took on Fury, and Fury is also the cousin of Tyson Fury. And again, he just this time he got cleanly outboxed and lost majority of the rounds to Pulev, who's a good solid veteran. And yeah, that pretty much bounced him out of having a shot in the top 10. So he's out of it. He's 24. He's still very young. He's got some time. We'll see if he can bounce back somehow in 2019 and push himself and possibly get himself into some kind of eliminator later in the year. Okay, so now we go into our top 10 where we have I actually have 10 solid guys in the top 10 that I'm ranking. Number 10 is the undefeated American contender Jarrell Miller. Jarrell Miller right now is currently ranked number 2 by the WBA. He's 30 years old, so he's coming into his prime. This guy, he really hasn't beaten, a lot of top level guys at all yet, but he's 23-0, 20 knockouts. He beat Johan Duhaupas in April by unanimous decision over 12. Then he took on Tomas Adamek, former world champion, but over 40 years old, and destroyed him in only 2 rounds. And he outweighed him by over 100 pounds. This guy comes in weighing over 300 pounds, but he can carry his weight and impressively. He took on some guy named Bogdan Dainu in November and got a 4th round knockout there. He's got good one-punch power. He can box a little bit, and he can come at you. He carries his weight well for how heavy he comes into his fights, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he does next. He's with Eddie Hearn in Matchroom. I wouldn't be surprised if he's an option for Anthony Joshua in April to fight for the world title. I think he should probably get another fight before that and not risk it. But, Eddie Hearn might put him in line. He says he's ready. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does, to see if he's good enough to be on that top level. But he is undefeated, and he's big, and I look forward to seeing him fight anybody, to tell you the truth. But I think if Joshua and Wilder doesn't happen this year, or Fury for that instance, I think this guy has a very good chance of facing Joshua either in April or later in the year. So look forward to that. Finishing the year number 9 is Bryant Jennings. He's a former world title challenger. He previously was number 7, so he drops a couple spots. He's 34 years old now. He's becoming an older fighter, but he went 3-0 in 2018, fighting for top rank. He beat a couple nobodies in February and April. In February he got a knockout. April he got a decision over a couple nobodies. Then in August, he got into kind of a minor eliminator and took on Alexander Dimitrenko and got a hard-fought 9th round TKO win. He went down earlier in that fight. Dimitrenko's a beast, though. He's a big guy. And he came back and impressively stopped him in the 9th round. He's currently rated number 2 by the WBO, so he's working his way up. We just got to wait and see. I think, he's actually taken on an undefeated former Olympian named Oscar Rivas this month on January 18th on ESPN. That's a big fight. He wins that fight, and he's got a very good chance of becoming a mandatory challenger, or waiting in line right there for Anthony Joshua at a shot for a world title. He's been there before. He's only lost to Klitschko and then Luis Ortiz by knockout in the same year in a really good fight, a really competitive fight with Ortiz. So he's a veteran. He knows what he's doing. He's kind of got an awkward style. He's not easy to hit flush. And, I look forward to seeing what he does. Bob Arum's kept him busy on Top Rank, and I hope to see him in a couple bigger fights this year. Okay, number 8 is former world title challenger Kubrat Pulev. He came into the year number 9, so he moves up 1 spot. He's 37 years old now. He's an older heavyweight, but man, in the one fight he had against Hughie Fury, he came back after a 1.5 year layoff and got into a final eliminator against Hughie Fury, and he dominated Fury. Dominated the action, got a clear, unanimous decision, and is now the mandatory number 1 contender for the IBF title, which is held by Anthony Joshua. I don't know how Joshua is going to get through this year without making a mandatory defense against Pulev unless an interim title is presented to Pulev. for the beginning of next year against maybe Joshua or something. But yeah, I mean, he's earned it by beating Fury and dominating Fury, to be honest. And yeah, somebody's gonna have to deal with him. So this will be his second time around. His only loss of his career was when he got blitzed by Klitschko, and I think it was 4 or 5 rounds. But he's a pretty solid boxer, and we'll see what he can do. I don't think he stands a chance against Joshua. I think he's gonna be very similar to what Klitschko did to him. But he's earned his keep, and he's up there. So we'll see if he gets a title shot this year, because he probably should. Finishing the year number 7 is former champion Alexander Povetkin. He came into the year number 3, dropped 4 spots to 7th. He's 39 years old now. He came into the year, he got a knockout win in March over big Englishman David Price, a 5th-round knockout there. He actually went down on a flash knockdown in that fight. Then in September, he got a mandatory title shot against Anthony Joshua, and he actually did pretty well. He was landing the good hard power shots on Joshua. Joshua decided to be a little patient and box, and after 6 rounds, it was a pretty even fight. But Joshua had started to land his combinations and land some good shots, and then in the 7th round, he just landed a couple more combinations, had worn down Povetkin, the older Povetkin at the time, and stopped him impressively. So nothing to hang his head about. Povetkin lost to the best heavyweight in the world, challenging for all 3 belts. Povetkin said he wants to fight 2 or 3 more times in 2019, and he wants to fight good fighters. He's talked about Dillian White. There's rumors that Alexander Usyk could face him. So he's still a very legitimate heavyweight, even at 39 years old. He can still compete at the top level. And, guys need to not overlook him if they're going to fight him in 2019. And I hope he does get a couple good, decent opponents that are willing to face him, because he's a good name to have on the resume. His only losses are to Vladimir Klitschko by a decision in an ugly fight back in 2013, and then also to Anthony Joshua now. And this guy's been at the top of the division since 2007. I said it before. I think Povetkin is, one of the most underrated heavyweights of the past decade. I remember him beating Chris Bird back in 2007, and he's beaten. You might not know a lot of the heavyweights from the past decade, but he's beaten some very good top level heavyweights in the division. And and he hung in there with Joshua, and he hung in there with Klitschko. So he's a good, solid heavyweight, and you're probably going to see him again, either against one of the top guys in the division going forward. Okay, finishing the year number 6 is former WBO champion Joseph Parker. He came into the year as the WBO champion and ranked 4th. He drops a couple spots. He's only 26, very young guy. I didn't realize how young he was. And at the end of March, he attempted to unify titles against Anthony Joshua. He actually landed more power shots than Joshua, but Joshua just seemed to outbox him. He was the first guy to take Joshua 12 rounds, though. Joshua couldn't finish him. Joshua didn't seem too eager and aggressive to try to knock him out. It wasn't that pretty of a fight. Most people really didn't give either guy a lot of credit, but the fact that he went 12 was impressive. He lost his title. Joshua's number 1, though, so no shame there. He came back at the end of July and took on Englishman Dillian White. And this ended up being a very good fight. White snuck out of there with a very close unanimous decision. But, again, it was a very close fight, and it was a back-and-forth fight. And Parker actually put White down and almost knocked him out in the 12th round. So he really showed a lot in defeat there. And then in December, he took on some unknown guy named Alexander Flores and knocked him out in 3 rounds. This is a guy that likes to stay active. He likes to come back. He came back after 2 back-to-back losses. But you know what? It really has nothing to – he went 12 rounds with 2 of the top 5 heavyweights in the world. 12 rounds each guy. Parker might not be the best heavyweight, might not have the most power, but he's entertaining. He's young, and he's there, and he's not easy. He's not an easy out. He's a tough guy. I'm hoping he gets into some kind of an eliminator this year. He's currently 5th in the WBC, so hopefully he fights somebody decent, and, we just got to wait and see what he does next. Finishing the year number 5 is Dillian White. He's currently the WBC's and WBO's number 1 contender in the world. He wasn't even ranked coming into this year, guys, so this was impressive. He's only 30 years old, so he's in his prime. His only claim to fame coming into this year really was a was a knockout loss to Anthony Joshua back in 2015. He actually hurt Joshua early in the fight and made it very competitive. Joshua came back and knocked him out in the seventh. That was a great knockout too. Go check that one out. And he also had a win over Derek Chisora by a split decision in 2016. But that really wasn't saying much because Chisora is somewhat of a journeyman, but he's a former world title challenger. So coming into the year, this guy had something to prove. And in March, he took on Lucas Brown. This fight ended up being on HBO, kind of a last-minute HBO fight from England. And impressively, he knocked out Lucas Brown. It was impressive. Outboxed him, outworked him, landed a huge left hook, put him down hard, and knocked him out. Impressive-ass win right there. Brown was undefeated coming in. Then he took on Joseph Parker, former world champion, at the end of July, and he fought his ass off over 12 rounds. Almost got knocked out in the 12th, but fought his ass off, got a close unanimous decision, deserving decision, though, from what I hear, and, put himself in line. He had a direct shot, to be honest. He was the favorite to face Anthony Joshua in April after the win over Parker. That wasn't enough. He wanted to fight again. So he came back and took on Derek Chisora, a guy he already beat a few years earlier in a rematch. And this fight was back and forth. Great fight. I think a couple of the judges had Chisora even winning after 10 in a close fight. And he fucking caught Chisora with the knockout of the year. Huge left hook. He put Chisora to sleep in the 11th round. Great knockout win. One of the best years in boxing, his 3-0 year. And just impressive. Dillian Whyte really had a great come out year and showing everybody he's a legit heavyweight contender. And he's calling the rematch for Joshua. Joshua says if Joshua said after the Chisora fight, he said it in the ring to White. He said, "Hey, if Deontay Wilder doesn't sign on to fight me, I'm fighting you next." We'll see. I'm hearing rumors that he's going to fight somebody else, and now Dillian Whyte's really talking shit, calling him out. We're going to see what's going to happen, but Whyte will get some big fight in 2019 for sure. Mark my words on that one. Okay, finishing the year number 4 is former world title challenger Luis Ortiz. He came into the year number 5, so he moves up one spot. He's 39 years old, but you wouldn't know it. I mean, the guy really does not look 39 when he fights. In March, he got the shot of a lifetime against Deontay Wilder. And what a fucking classic this was. I've talked about it a few times on these videos. He was actually winning the fight, outboxing, outworking Wilder, and then Wilder caught him in the 6th and put him down. And it looked like he was hurt. Then in the 7th round, it looked like he almost had Wilder out on his feet and almost had put him down. And then in the 8th and 9th round, the fight started evening out again, and then he got caught. He got really tired. He had been very inactive the prior year, and I think that really hurt him. And he got stopped in the 10th round. But a great classic heavyweight fight right here. This was very similar to Anthony Joshua and Vladimir Klitschko in 2017. Fantastic fight. He came back 2 more times at the end of July. He got a second round knockout. And then in December on the Wilder Fury pay-per-view, he got a 10th round knockout over Travis Kaufman. But this guy is, again, the boogeyman of the division. Most of the top guys are avoiding him again, even a rematch. Wilder, he's got other options. Wilder does. But I'm hoping somebody gives this guy a chance, even in some kind of an eliminator, to work himself towards one of the world champions this year. And I really want to see him get a title shot. He's the most avoided guy. It's a damn shame. I know he's scary, but the guy's got to fight him. He's there. It's not like they can ignore him, and most guys still do. So, but he is there, and after the way he looked against Wilder, he looks even more scary. And we're going to see, but hopefully he gets a shot in 2019. I'm praying he does, because I really love Luis Ortiz. He's fucking tough. He's a good boxer, and he can punch very hard. And that's why they call him the real King Kong. So hopefully we see him back in the ring. Finishing the year number 3 is the undefeated WBC champion, Deontay Wilder. He drops 1 spot from number 2. He's now 33 years old, and seems like he's really dependent on only his right hand and his power. He took on Ortiz in that classic fight, got a 10th round knockout in March. So impressive. I was very impressed with the way Wilder came back after almost being out on his feet in the 7th. And the way that Ortiz was really outboxing him, and he still managed to beat him. Then he took on Tyson Fury in December. he lost that fight. I'm sorry. I'm going to keep saying it over and over. Fury got robbed. But to Wilder's credit, he is a man of his word. He says, um, I only need 1 second to finish you. That's what he's depending on. Is it high risk? Yes, because he could lose a decision. He could set himself up to get knocked out. But he's got faith in his chin and he's got faith in his power. And he was getting outboxed cleanly the whole fight. He didn't deserve the decision, but he almost finished Fury. He hurt him twice. He almost finished him. They're talking rematch, and if the rematch doesn't happen, it's likely going to be God, I'm drawing it. Oh, Dominic Breazeale, which should be a quick, easy fight for him because Breazeale has no chin, not one worth Wilder's power. Wilder's going to destroy him. But we're going to see what happens. Wilder, like I said, he depends on that power. You know what? If he threw his jab more, he would have won that fight earlier. He would have beat Fury earlier because he busted Fury's nose with a jab, hard jab. If he would have boxed a little more and set his power up, he probably would have knocked Fury out. But he's looking for one punch, and that could hurt him. It could help him, but it could hurt him. We're gonna see. I hope he fights Fury again in a rematch. I hope we see him in Anthony Joshua this year sometime, but I just don't know if that's gonna go down. Hi guys. Finishing the year number 2 is undefeated Tyson Fury. Fury, he got robbed in that fight against Wilder. I was really disappointed in the judges on that one. But Fury, what a comeback that guy had. He's only 30 years old. He's still very young. I'm hoping he continues this and the rematch happens. He really deserves to be the world champion. He won 2 fights before he fought Wilder, and I'm looking forward to seeing the rematch later on this year. It should be a good one. And hopefully, if he wins, he can go at it with domestic rival Anthony Joshua. But the Wilder fight, to me, needs to happen again because he needs to get his shot and try to become world champion or decide who the better man is because it should have been him in December. And then finishing the year number 1 is Anthony Joshua, unified champ. He came in the year number 1. He's still only 29. He's in his prime. He unified belts with Joseph Parker kind of quietly, but he added the 3rd title and is now holds 3 of the 4 belts in the division. And then in September, he kept the belt with a dominant TKO win over Alexander Povetkin. He's scheduled to fight in April. He's slated for April 13th. It's probably going to be, they're saying Dillian White, possibly even Jarrell Big Baby Miller. He's got options. He's got a lot of options. I just hope he takes on one of the top ones. I'd be happy with him facing his mandatory too, but we'll see what he does. I think Anthony Joshua is great, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he does next and fighting some of the top dogs, like Deontay Wilder or even Luis Ortiz or Tyson Fury. So hopefully he gets a 2 or 3 fight year in this year and proves why he's number 1. And that's it. All right, guys. Well, that's the heavyweights. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll come back tomorrow with the middleweights.